Well, today we're going to shift gears a little bit and get back to a project that we started quite a while ago, and we've still chipped away a little bit at it here and there, but it's been a little bit on the back burner lately. We worked on, the GTX. We bought a few cars, sold a few cars, worked on a few different projects over the last few months, and this one's kind of been off to the side for a good chunk of time now. So to recap, for those of you that don't know this car, this is a 69 Roadrunner. It's also one of the Arizona cars that was with my Coronet 500. It was with the red GTX. It was with the Sunfire Yellow Roadrunner and a few others. So that's where this one came from. And so this car, if we go back in time a little bit, first of all, from the factory, it was B7 blue with white and blue interior, 383 automatic, bench seat, column shift, factory air conditioned car, and a factory tack car, as well as, a few other options on top of that. It had a white pinstripe that ran across the top of the body as well. So it was a pretty good looking car from the factory. Here's a little glimpse of that B7 blue. It's a really, really nice color. I like it a lot. It's probably one of my top 3, for sure top 5 colors. So what we had when we got this car was, it's a really solid car overall. This quarter panel was caved in almost a foot. It had a lot of damage. It had been in some kind of, collision or side swipe or, whatever happened. I'm not 100% sure. I don't have any of that history on it. But this quarter panel was caved in. We cut it kind of across the top and down, and then over here, and then the whole bottom, as well as repaired the trunk extension. And that's pretty much it. We replaced that, did a lot of body work, a lot of, metal work here and there on that, and body work, filling up a couple of dents, straightening things out best we could. And it's turned out pretty good. It's, you can see it's pretty straight. It needs some work here and there, but it's overall pretty good. Another thing we did was this trunk filler, rear window package tray filler, whatever you want to call it. That was a major pain. That was much more difficult than it should have been. This is a brand new AMD panel, and it was from this side to this side, it was 1/8 of an inch too long. And this kind of has a curve like this across the middle, and it was about 1/2 an inch too high of a curve. So we had to actually cut the ends off and bring it back together and weld them back together. So that was a bit of a process, to say the least. Also, we did, you can't see because they're primed and had a little filler on them, but we did both window corners, new replacement pieces for that, as well as over here, we did a lower quarter from here down, as well as some trunk extension work down there as well. And then in the trunk, welded up a couple little pinholes, a couple little small patches. There was a small patch that needed to be made on that trunk extension in there. I know it's dark and you guys can't really see, but a couple little things here and there. Not very much metal work was done on this car, considering how much work most of these cars got. And then this rear floor piece was cut basically as my finger traces. That's basically what's new right there. So that was, for whatever reason, that piece in the little ribs and grooves and stuff was just a little bit too thin and had some pinholes and had some issues. So we went ahead and replaced that little piece. And then one thing we noticed that, again, aftermarket panels have little quirks. If you look here, this panel, is lined up where it should be, but there's where the old and the new meet, and it's, a little bit too short. So kind of a weird deal, but it happens. So not a big deal, and all these edges will get, covered back up with seam sealers. Same with these in here, and even up at the front of the firewall, that's all going to be seam sealed back to the way it was factory. So anyways, moving on to what's happened since we left, essentially, is we put this front on this wheel dolly setup here and dropped the whole K-member out, which all of that is here. So we're gonna have the K-member, the control arms, the backing plates, the spindles and stuff. We're gonna get that all cleaned up, painted black, and looking good. This week I will be ordering new, whole new suspension, new bushings, new tie rod ends, new sleeves, new, everything essentially. So also all kinds of new brake hardware, all kinds of stuff. So that'll all be good to have. And we'll be able to, in the reasonably near future, build out a front suspension on the car, or build it out and then put it in the car, whatever we decide to do. But the main purpose of this is to show where we're at and kind of where we're going. So this is where we're at, and I'll show you outside where we're going. So we just picked up that Rotisserie. So this car will be being put on a Rotisserie here. Need to make some brackets and move some stuff around a little bit with this, and some assembly required, but we'll be able to put this on a Rotisserie, flip it on its side, flip it upside down, whatever we need to do to get better access to the rocker panels and the underside of the car. The goal is to make the underside of the car as nice as the top side of the car. So hopefully within a week, I'd like to have the car primed, top side, bottom side, everywhere, get some paint ordered, and work on getting the underside of the car painted as well. So we're gonna see what we can do to get this thing unloaded, set up, and put on the car. And then once we're set up there, I will show you guys how the underside of the car looks. So I will see you guys once we get to that point. So we have a progress update on the Roadrunner Rotisserie situation. First of all, we've had to do a lot of kind of custom bracket making here. But first of all, here's how it's set up. It's basically made out of square tubing, as well as there's some sleeves in the middle that you can adjust and hold stuff, and it's fairly simple once you get it set up, but definitely takes a little bit of doing. So the way this works is these have a square tube, and it just slides over this bar, and then you can tighten it, adjust it in, out, wherever you need it to be. So we had to get some angle iron, drill holes in it for where the rear bumper brackets go, and then we had to notch this here because this needs to kind of tuck up and in. So that's how that's going to go on. And this turned out really nice. Had a guy I know weld it. He did a really good job. So that should be plenty strong, and then like I said, it'll sit on here. The car will be bolted nut and bolt with washers and all that to the Rotisserie, and then that'll be that pretty much. And then there's an adjuster nut and a safety pin and all that for actually turning the car side to side. So that's all good. We had to add some length here because from where the back bolt holes go to the front bolt holes is about 15.5 feet, and through all the adjustments we could only get about 14.5 to 14 feet, so had to add a little bit there. It's pretty strong, not too worried about it. And then the front brackets will work pretty simple. I need to drill another hole here for the front bracket, but again, same process here. It'll slide over the square tube and it'll bolt on just like the bumpers would. So, and this is where that other hole needs to be drilled. This already came with the one hole drilled, so we will use that and drill another. That one doesn't fit anything, so it'll again, you know, slide it on, you know, bolt the car on, make sure, you know, we can center it side to side best we can, and that'll pretty much be it. And again, you know, adjuster nut and a safety pin. So we took the front piece off of here. It's currently held up by jack stands under the cross member there, so it's pretty, you know, it's pretty strong right now. What we're going to end up probably doing is, obviously I have to drill the other hole here, that'll go here, but once that's in place, I think we're probably going to start with the front, and we're going to get the car lifted up and kind of over, and we're going to try to, you know, one piece at a time, hook the front bolts up at least, and then that'll hold it. It'll still kind of be able to swing a little bit though, and then with the cherry picker we'll be able to pick the back up, set the back end, and then adjust the front to where the secondary bolt hole fits and works. That's at least how it's working in my head. We'll see how it actually works in reality. We're going to start that tomorrow morning because this took a considerable amount of time, longer than I expected, honestly. But wrestling around these big pieces, getting everything moved and getting everything situated is not quite as easy as we expected it to be, to say the least. So that being said, tomorrow morning, next time you see this, hopefully we will be either set on or in the process of setting this on, and we'll be, you know, turning this car upside down for the first time probably in its life ever. You know, I can't imagine when else it would be upside down, but yeah, with it upside down we'll be able to do some better body work, better angles, and we're going to work on cleaning the whole underside of the car, because this thing with the rotisserie now will legitimately be a rotisserie restoration by definition. We're going to get all the paint off the underside and get that thing painted up, you know, just like how it would be from the factory, actually better than factory, because they didn't really use a ton of paint on the underside from the factory. We're going to try to get this thing to look as nice underneath as it will on top. So we'll see how all that goes. I'm excited to see it on the rotisserie, where we can actually kind of get at some angles and get at, you know, fixing a couple little things better than we can in its current configuration. And once it's off the ground, we'll be able to pull the rear end out, and this thing will literally just be a body shell. At that point, with the rear end out, the only bolts in the car will be the ones holding it on the rotisserie for the most part. So that'll be exciting. A little bit scary because that's a lot of stuff to put back on it, but you know, it is what it is. So exciting to see that happen. Looking forward to getting this thing up there, and I'm going to work on getting a couple more things ready, and I will see you guys once we're at that point. Well, after a long day of a lot of trial and error, moving this, moving that, and you know, a whole lot of stuff that nobody probably even wanted to see, we got a car on a rotisserie. So what we had to end up doing was kind of complicated, but not too bad overall. We had to essentially make a stack of tires here and kind of raise the car a piece at a time. And, you know, using the jack and some beams and some blocks of wood, got the rear end lifted up enough to put the back on. And then the front is where we had the stack of tires for safety. But me, and with some help, actually, obviously we had it level, but I put a strap across the frame rails, put it over my shoulder, lifted it up, and got those bolts in place. So, needless to say, it was a bit of a task. It was a bit of an adventure, whatever you want to call it. It is what it is. So that was definitely one of the more interesting things that we've done in order to get a car moved. But life goes on, and next time, now we either know how to do this, or we can come up with a better way to do it. Because obviously, the best way is if you have a lift or some kind of hoist or something, even a chain hoist from the ceiling, but we do not have that, so it is what it is. But real quick, we could take a look at the car from a different angle. I mean, literally. So the car is actually really in good shape. Underneath is really nice. I mean, that's the original trunk floor right there. So I mean, that tells you what we're dealing with as far as quality of a car. Also, a little cool thing here, that rear end with the script Plymouth letters done by hand across the rear end. That's pretty cool. So anyways, the big task here is going to be dealing with the undercoating. That's going to be the biggest challenge, because our goal here is now to paint the underside as much and hopefully, as good as the top side. Obviously, it's not going to be cut and buff, and it doesn't really matter if there's some orange peel on the underside of the car. That's not what we're going for. But, want it to look nice shiny blue, like at least parts of it used to look like that. So anyways, the big task is getting the undercoating off, neutralizing any surface rust, getting a base layer across the whole bottom, and then shooting some paint. So what we're going to do next from here is we can kind of tune up a little bit of bodywork stuff here and there, as well as get this rear end out of there. I'll rotate this back flat and use this jack apparatus block system thing, whatever you want to call it, to unhook the back, unhook the front, and hopefully lower it down as safely as we can. So get that out of the way, then we'll have better access to the wheel wells and around the frame rail areas in the back. So we'll see how that goes. Then we'll strip any remaining brake line, fuel line, anything else that's still holding on, which is basically nothing, but there's a few things left. So, and then we'll pull the torsion bars out, because obviously they're doing nothing but sitting there in the way. So anyways, we're moving right along. Hopefully within the next couple weeks, hopefully 2 weeks, maybe 3, I'd like to have the whole underside of the car cleaned and painted. Because once the car is cleaned and painted, underside and engine bay, we're going to be able to prime the exterior and probably bring it right back down again. And then we'll probably end up putting a different car on this. So it'll be kind of a constant rotation of, one project, then the next, then the next, then the next, same kind of stuff as always. But this is kind of one of the more focal points right now. So we've had to screw around with getting this to work for quite a while. We've had to modify the piece quite a few times, had to custom make the brackets, as well as it's kind of hard to see, but there's kind of a rib here, and if you were to lay it flat, it would kind of lay at an angle like this. So we had to weld washers to the backside. So we had this back bar piece on and off probably 3-4 times. So just that alone is just a pain in the butt to deal with. So it's definitely been a process. But now if we have a Roadrunner, a Charger, a Super Bee, a GTX, a Satellite, a Coronet, any of it, it all just bolts right on and we're good to go. So realistically, we're gonna get this done and down, and then from there we may end up doing the blue 69 GTX or who knows what else. So anyways, that's pretty much enough rambling. That's been the process of getting the car from the ground onto a rotisserie, and a quick little sneak peek of how much crap is involved in that. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know what you think of this car, and if you want to see more on it, I can definitely do videos of stripping the underside, priming it, painting it, all that stuff. So let me know what you think, and definitely like, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.